You know, trust, it's this invisible glue that holds our most important relationships together. But what happens when that glue just shatters in a single moment? In this explainer, we're going to look at the anatomy of broken trust and the really difficult path back to healing, all through the powerful story of one couple.
And that's really the big question we're diving into, isn't it? It gets right to the heart of love, betrayal, and whether forgiveness is even possible. So let's see how one couple handled this exact challenge. So, before we can really get into how something breaks, you've got to understand how it was built in the first place. Let's take a look at David and Maria's marriage before the moment that changed absolutely everything.
See, David was one of those guys who was just all in. He worked super hard to give his wife, Maria, a great life. He absolutely adored her, and their marriage, well, it was built on this simple, powerful idea. Total, complete trust. No questions asked.
But here's the thing about foundations. Even the ones that look solid can have a weak spot. And for them, one single evening was about to find that crack and threaten to bring the whole thing tumbling down. This is where the story pivots.
And it all kicks off so normally. David's office closes early for some repairs, and he thinks, hey, I'll go home and surprise Maria with her favorite takeout. A sweet, simple gesture, right? But it ends up being the trigger for everything that comes next.
So he gets to the door, opens it up, and he hears something that just doesn't belong. It's not just Maria's laugh, there's a man's laugh mixed in there. And you can just imagine his heart starts pounding. The second he steps into the living room, that laughter just stops. Total deafening silence.
Now, what happens next is pretty incredible. David doesn't yell. He doesn't start a fight. He just calmly asks the other guy to leave, and then he turns to Maria, tears already in his eyes, and asks this one simple, devastating question. It wasn't about anger. It was just pure, soul-crushing hurt.
Well, the secret's out. The shock starts to fade, and this awful, painful reality sets in. Now comes the hard part. The conversations, the fallout, and a huge choice that has to be made.
And this is where you can really see how far apart they were, emotionally. I mean, they're in the same room, but they're living in completely different worlds. For David, it's just this black hole of pain, confusion, and disappointment. But for Maria, her reality was that she was lonely, she made a terrible mistake, and now she's filled with this overwhelming regret. You really have to get both sides to understand how they could possibly move forward.
You know, David just couldn't think straight in that house. It was too much. So he does something really important. He decides to leave for a few days and stay with his brother. And this isn't him running away. It's about getting the space he desperately needs to just breathe, to think, to figure out if their marriage could even be fixed.
Okay, so the trust is broken. The pain is raw and real. So, what do you do now? For David and Maria, they actually followed a pretty clear step-by-step process to try and rebuild. And this isn't just their story. It's kind of like a roadmap for what it takes to heal. Let's walk through it.
All right, so their path to forgiveness kicked off with a sincere apology from Maria. And I mean more than just saying, I'm sorry. It was a real promise to change. Step 2, she took action. She cut off all contact with the other man. Done. From there, they started having those tough, honest conversations. But, and this is key, they knew they couldn't do it alone, so they got a professional counselor to help guide them. And the last step, maybe the hardest one of all, patience. Just accepting that this kind of healing doesn't happen overnight.
So after all that pain, all those hard conversations, all that work, where did they end up? Did it actually work? Let's take a look at the final outcome of their journey.
And here's the amazing part. Their marriage didn't just survive, it actually transformed. Because they went through this fire together, their relationship came out stronger on the other side. It was rebuilt on this brand new foundation of honesty, of respect, and a kind of open communication they just never had before.
This quote really just nails the whole point of their story, doesn't it? Yeah, trust is fragile, and yeah, mistakes can absolutely destroy it. But it also shows us that with real true change, total honesty, and a commitment to forgiveness, you can heal even the deepest wounds.
And that kind of leaves us with this big final question to think about. Looking at David and Maria's story, maybe the goal isn't to get back to being the same. Maybe a relationship can't ever be the same after a betrayal like that. Maybe the real goal is for it to become something new, something even stronger. What do you think?